Hi all, my name is Jonathan Jones. I'm Vice Chairperson at Skills and Volunteering Cymru. And welcome to SVC's Spotlight on Various Careers. Throughout the week, we have presentations from our partner organisations explaining their career path and how they are involved within volunteering. There are also a couple of talks that are specific to the presenter's subject area. So up next is Joe James, who is a criminology tutor from Swansea University. This is a pre-recorded presentation, which Joe has sent in to us. If you have any questions, please send them to me, or I'll alternatively send them to Joe. Of course, if you want to post any questions on Flipgrid, if you're doing them by that platform, we will try and get back to you with an answer as soon as possible. So without further ado, let's go do Joe's presentation. Thanks.
Hello and welcome to my talk. Today I'm going to be looking at the academic journey, so research and volunteering. My name's Joe James, and yeah, I'll be talking to you for about 15-20 minutes or so. So today's session, we're going to be looking at the following. So my postgraduate journey, academic journey, volunteering, research information, some of my experiences, and some tips for yourselves. And some handy postgraduate further education tips. So if you're studying at the moment, you're looking at dissertation research, masters, or doctoral research, just some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. Okay, so let's get started. A little bit about me. I lecture in criminology and criminal justice at the Hillary Rodham Clinton School of Law, Swansea University. I'm also in the final year of a PhD looking at devolution and the youth justice system. I have a passion for working with vulnerable people, vulnerable groups, and empowering those who do not normally have a voice, especially within the criminal justice system. And my doctoral research is within the youth justice system specifically, with a specific emphasis on understanding policy, process and children's rights, in particular the potential for devolution of the youth justice system to Wales. I've worked as a support worker for homeless charity Llymai alongside my doctoral studies, as well as working with the local youth offending teams in Swansea and in Cardiff in the Vale of Glamorgan, as well as some rights-based primary schools and the youth parliament. So my talk will focus on how volunteering has helped me throughout my studies and still does now, and how much of an impact research in particular and support can have in communities, as well as some advice I gained along my journey. And that's something I want to reinforce as we go through the way in which volunteering can help both yourself as an individual to learn and to grow, but also the direct impact that you can have within the communities that you live in and the communities that you work in. So a little bit of information about myself. So my journey, I started my undergraduate degree in criminology at Swansea in 2011. 9 years ago now. Did my postgraduate there, so I did my MSc, Masters in Social Research at Swansea, and I'm into now the last part of my PhD in criminology, so they can't get rid of me. But yeah, some of the academic conferences I've presented at, and what I want to try and reinforce the whole way through is everything that I have done, everything that I've been involved in has come from an aspect of volunteering and community working. So, for example, presenting the European Criminology Society, devolution, youth justice and blurring the lines, building on some of the preliminary findings of my PhD, working with young people across South Wales in various youth offending teams. So my research encompasses the whole of the whole of Wales. So from the north and the south, gathering plenty of different people's opinions, especially from practitioners and young people there. And I'll talk about that a bit more as I go through. So in Geneva, at Children's Rights Conference, National Children's Rights Conference, Dubrovnik, social work, blended learning. In Atlanta, Georgia, evolution of devolution. Does the destiny of young people lie within the hands of the dragon? Always helps to have a catchy title. Greganog in Mid Wales, Welsh Centre of Crime and Social Justice, challenging the claim of legislation and policy commitment to children's rights and whether it seeps into practice. And what I really want to get across from that is the fact that my speciality and what I do is about working with young people to try and find out and explore their voice within the system. So I am a massive advocate for that, and a lot of my research tells stories and backgrounds of the case studies of young people and how they found the system from their point of view, because in my opinion you don't get to hear enough about the real voices within service users, for example. So education. So I don't normally like to quote politicians, and in particularly don't really like to quote Tony Blair, but this is a quote from him that reflects that the top priority at the time will always be education to overcome decades of neglect and make Britain a learning society, developing talents and raising ambitions of all young people. And although, you know, there's many criticisms of what happened along the way there, as a sentiment, that's something that really, really sticks with me, especially about that focus on education. And I was really, really lucky that I had an opportunity in my second year of my criminology undergraduate degree with Swansea, that I was able to go and work in a primary school in Swansea in Blind Mice, and I got really, really like heavily involved in the practice, and I really wanted it to make an all-encompassing research project. I started probably shadowing teachers and getting involved with extracurricular stuff around the September of the academic year, and my data collection started in the January of the next year. So I'd worked for several months within the school, exploring the ways in which the school works in terms of being a rights-based framework, etc., etc. But my main point was to get involved in the school and understand the workings and give back, because what I was doing essentially was taken from the school in terms of research and data. But the importance was, in my opinion, the volunteering aspect of that, of putting those hours in and understanding and helping out where I can. And I always go back to this example whenever I talk about things like volunteering and the importance of embedding and understanding practice, is that without the opportunity they gave me to come in and help out after school and, you know, learn how the different policies and processes and practices work and get really hands-on, without having that opportunity, I would never have got to where I am now. And I always reflect back on that, and I think the journey that I've taken, I always go back to the point of which of those opportunities that are given. So yeah, as you go through, and another point I wanted to make about that is selflessness. You know, there's not a lot of, well, especially with volunteering, it's not a monetary gain. You're trying to do something that's for the community and for better lives. And I know it's cliche, but, you know, for me, my research and what I do, I want to be able to make a difference and change the world in my own little way. And for me, that was a massive part of that. What can I do to help those young people? What can I do to help that school improve or change practice or develop policy, or just give them some evidence in terms of writing a report that says they're doing a really good job, so that they can go back to the governors, they can go back to local government and say, listen, what we're doing is really working here. So that's something there, you know, and I'm talking about that in terms of giving back. So giving back those opportunities. So as soon as my data collection finished, I didn't just walk away from the school. I carried on volunteering. I still do now. I've recently been nominated to become a community governor of the same school that I worked in over 5 years ago. And it's something that, you know, is really close to my heart in terms of working within that community and getting involved in all of the other stuff. It's not just, you know, just helping out now and again, etc., etc. It's getting involved and trying to get as much out of the experience that you really can. And that helps you develop and build that rapport and those relationships with practitioners, with young people, and develops you as a person, because you learn a lot about yourself from going through these motions and enjoying it. And you do really do reap the rewards. The way the impact that they had on me, the young people that I worked with, was massive. I'm talking about an area of, you know, low socio-economic deprivation, an area in which opportunities may be less than other areas in Wales, but the young people who I worked with there were fantastic. They were amazing. And they should have, and they do now, in many ways, have the same opportunities that other young people across Wales do. You know, and that's something I really, you know, want to reinforce, is that the difference that you can make, and the difference that something like a school has made there. Because without that school, those young people would not get the same opportunities, because how good, you know, how good the work they really do is. And And building on from that and not walking away is that idea of dissemination and how important it is to go back and showcase. Like, even though it was for a research project, following internships and things like that in Swansea, my first point of call as soon as I finished the research wasn't to give it to the law school, wasn't to do any networking opportunities and try and use my data like that or submit a potential for a journal article. The first thing I did was go back to the school and present what I found to the school, to the young people in particular, and to the teachers there, to show them how important they were to me. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a sense of some of the early stuff there. And then I did an internship working in Swansea youth offending team, which was really, really helpful. Again, I was allowed to sit on bureau panel boards, out of court diversion techniques, basically to help wrap services around young people who've been in conflict with the law. There's a similar program in Cardiff, run by Media Academy Cardiff, which is called Triage, which is something else that is worth looking into as well. But the one in particular I worked in was a Swansea youth offending team, and it really, really helped me. And this was all volunteering work again. In terms of skill building, it was absolutely huge, critical, being able to read through caseloads, understand how the process worked, and understand the reality of practice. And a lot of the time, that's what people don't ever get to see. And that was one of my biggest critiques of myself going through my academic career, was that I didn't have enough front-facing practitioner experience, so that when I'm researching in an area, I want to be able to turn around and say, yeah, I can level with you. I've done this work. I've sat there. I've seen it firsthand. I'm not just writing anecdotally about something from an article. So it taught me loads of things in terms of preparation, report writing, inspired as well. Some of the stories you come across day to day are very, very inspiring. You think how amazing it is that somebody has got, from the stages they were, 6 months, 12 months down the line, how much they've changed. And it does really inspire you to go ahead and change and get involved in more of these things. And, you go back to something like snowballing, an idea in research, or where you get more participants in a study, but it's the same thing here. Once you get the bug for it, once you understand how much of a difference you really can make, from your experience and as you learn, and as you give back, it is a bug, and you want to do it more and more, and that's something I hope that, as you get engaged in volunteering and as you get engaged in these things, that you do more and more. So yeah, Llamai, most recently in terms of volunteering and working myself, is something that really, really, really did open my eyes. And volunteers are absolutely crucial to the delivery of Llamai's mission to end youth homelessness and homelessness for vulnerable women. And there's so many ways you can volunteer for Llammai. In return, you gain so much experience, it develops your skills, etc., etc. Whether it be supporting women and their families to settle into communities when they move out of refuge, or helping out at one of the fundraising events, you leave Llammai, supporting Llammai, and helping young homeless people and vulnerable women. It's unbelievable the work they do, and it's something that really did give me the reality. I did some volunteering work first, and then I ended up becoming a support working practitioner, working in 2 or 3 different youth hostels in Cardiff, and the impact that the young people had on me was tremendous. Because although what I've seen from my research and and who I've spoken to in terms of young people over the last 5-6 years, if I'm interviewing a young person, it's 20-30 minutes, sometimes with a practitioner in the room or another young person in a focus group. You only see that snapshot, you only see that 20-30 minutes, and in a lot of the cases you just see a lot of bravado. You don't see the reality, you don't see the real person and what that's come from. And working in this industry and seeing that day to day, and living essentially, a lot of the shifts are 10+ hours. This is what I was paid, sorry, not the volunteering stuff, but in terms of what that led to me, and what I got from it was huge, because you got to spend real time in their environment and speak to them as normal young people, and I'm not too old myself, so I'm only a few years older than them, and I could sit down and talk with them, and just listen to what they said. And a lot of the time they don't have people who listen, And without being too egotistical about the process, the fact that, you know, you've got these skills, especially if you're going through, you know, like an academic career at the moment. I don't know if at the moment you're doing your master's degree or undergraduate degree, but if you've got those key skills, you can help so much more. You can add so much more. You know, a lot of the stuff, even though I didn't want to just ram CVs and job applications down people's throats all the time, because of my experience, I was able to do that. I was able to put a massive push on things like education and training, the importance of that. You know, a lot of these young people are illiterate, and being able to just talk to them and help them with, you know, sending an email or helping them apply for a doctor's appointment is a massive thing. And just being there and working that out. And from a voluntary point of view, you can get involved with these things. And the impact it has when it comes, you know, when you come home and you just think, do you know what? I made a real difference to that person's life today. And that is massive, not only for them, but also for you. So yeah, Pact, this is another charity that we in Swansea do quite a lot of research and work with. And if you want to get any more information, visit their website, but they're fantastic. So Pact, prisoners, families, communities, fresh starting together. So over the past year, Pact volunteers have dedicated 63,000 hours of their time to Pact, providing vital support to prisoners, people with convictions and their families. There are a variety of exciting volunteering opportunities available across England and Wales, including mentoring, befriending, supporting people in court, working in prisons, visitor centres, supporting children and families visiting loved ones, and their national helpline, as well as much more. And again, if you feel like you can make a difference with any of these things, go ahead and contact, you know, get in touch, ask those questions. And try and get involved as much as you can. And I'll have my contact details on the last slide as well if you want to get in touch and ask me any further questions. So a couple of postgraduate tips, and I apologize if you aren't looking for postgraduate tips, but I thought I'd just include some of these as I've gone through, things that have helped me up. So especially in terms of research, backing everything up. Everyone knows a horror story involved in work that wasn't backed up. I've had a few myself, you know, just better still, back it up and let it be your mantra. Secondly, always carry some work with you. And I don't mean always carry a huge thesis with you, but, you know, whenever you're going to be stuck in a traffic jam on the bus, waiting in a coffee shop for 20 minutes, carry a piece of something on your, a piece of work on your phone or extra reading, notes for a seminar, and have a browse through. Only a couple of minutes a day really does add up quickly. So even if that's just gathering knowledge and building, you know, something that you want to get involved with long term in terms of your career, you know, building up that knowledge, finding out how you can in terms of experience, embedding things like volunteering and understanding how much of an emphasis and how much you can really help really does add to that. Getting the right amount of sleep may be trivial, but yeah, most postgraduate students find it hard to shake undergraduate habits of late nights and long lie-ins. With so much work to cram in, it can be tempting to sacrifice a good night's sleep, good night's rest in favour of burning the midnight oil. So don't underestimate the importance of sleep for your own mental health and well-being as well. And never be afraid of a cheeky nap, as I say. Invest in stationery. Your work progress will be smoother if you have the proper tools for the job. As my research methods teacher, Mr. Mansfield, taught me when I was about 16, 17, always have the best tools for the job, no matter what you're looking to do. So yeah, as a PG student, postgraduate student, you won't want to be reliant upon your housemate's hole punch or stuffing your lecture notes into a drawer full of lack folders. Just get it, you know, get organized and get things ready to go. Invest in some good pieces of kit. So cleaning up your online presence, so things like LinkedIn, especially if you are applying, because some of these schemes, whether it's internships, are very, very competitive, and your online presence makes a massive difference. So it's important to make sure it's up to a standard that can be expected, and it's easy to check this, you know, Googling just a name, it's easy to find someone's profile and see what they've done on it, and you know, in terms of process, practice, and you know, career information, work experience. But you can transform your social media presence and things like LinkedIn very quickly, just with a bit of attention to detail. Don't be afraid to put the pen, pencil, laptop, whatever down. Always take a break for something, you know, even if it's just a few hours in the evening, you know, take a break from these things. Carry an umbrella. Obviously, that's more relevant to Swansea. We tend to get a little bit more rain there, you'd argue, especially on the Bay campus. But nobody wants us to hike around campus or anywhere in soggy clothes. So, you know, always take your umbrella. Another tip here, Hugh Cairns. It doesn't matter even if you're not doing postgraduate work in general, research terms. He's really helpful. Give him a follow on Twitter. He talks about the 2 golden hours, and that's something that I am a massive advocate of. Even if it's just switching off your phone, turning off social media, and sitting there for 2 hours and just writing, you know, or reading, you know, getting sourced up on information. Find your sanctuary. For me, it's Coffee One. Other coffee shops are available, but if I can sit there with some good music on, have a latte and do some writing, it does really help. Remember, always bad writing precedes good writing. You're not writing a novel first point, you know, so start with it, even if it's just a couple of notes on a handkerchief. Yeah, these things get there. Don't be afraid of drafts. And my PhD's got about 5,000 already, so, you know, there'll be plenty more of that to come. And take the pressure off your first draft. Just get words down, rewrite and revise them. Research ideas. It's never too early to be thinking about the next stage of your career. So ask those questions now. And whether that be through volunteering, whether that be through, you know, academically speaking, supervisors, etc. Within your current job, you know, what else can you do to add to what you're doing now? What funding pots are available to you? Always check things like grant funding, especially in the research avenue. And what are the current hot topics for research? Because normally that is what will kick off how you can then take that on to research projects itself. And the final real message for me today, hopefully you found this somewhat helpful, is never forget what got you to where you are now. Always give back. And remember, just listening to someone can change their world forever. Okay, so that's the poignant finish. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please do get in touch. That's my Twitter handle there, at Joe James Crim, very original, and j.d.james at swansea.ac.uk. But yeah, if you have any questions, please follow them away, and yeah, take care. Thank you very much.
I just realized that was muted, sorry. Thank you, Joe, for that presentation. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that the rest of the people watching this enjoyed it as well. This video will be viewable via Flipgrid just after. We're hoping to get the videos all uploaded after some editing on the 5th of December 2020. As Joe said, if you have any questions, please send. You can send it to his email or Twitter, of course. But feel free to post any messages via Flipgrid comments, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. I think that is it for today's lecture. Up next at 1 o'clock, we have Lucy John, Kevin Lewis, Jonathan Arnold, and Amy Williams from USW. They will be talking about their placements and some sort of skills that you should sort of take on. Yep, I think that's it for today, this section. Thank you, and hopefully we see you soon. Goodbye.